6:34 a.m. We are convening in open session, fully remote, on Teams today. In attendance, we have Hadley Media. This meeting is being recorded by Hadley Media. We have Hadley Media, Kenny from the HEA, Amy Parsons from the Select Board, Megan Healy from the Dispatch, Sue Blawatsky from Town Hall in the Collector's Office, Kim Piper as the Municipal Union President. We have Ray Russell for the DPW Workers and Supervisors, Mike Mazulis for the Firefighter Union, and Dan Zagrodnik, for the retirees. So thank you all for coming. So it looks like we've gone over all of our members and who they are representing. And we'll move on to our third agenda item, the open meeting law. Has everyone been sworn in and provided with the open meeting law? Okay, has anyone not been?
I have
Okay.
not been sworn in. I made a request to do it virtually because I'm with my dad in the hospital, but that was denied, and therefore I am unable to vote at this time.
Okay.
And I'm disappointed about that.
I'm sorry. And everyone received conflicts of interest as well from the clerk, or is that also needed to be sent out?
I got mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Megan, that would mean you will also need that.
Do you mean the conflict of interest training?
I believe that when you're sworn in, the clerk goes over both the conflict of interest and open meeting law together.
It's just the notice, Lauren, it's just the notice that it has to be completed.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're
Thank you, Sue.
required to do it in our position in the town.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone is.
Everyone
Yes.
is.
Okay. So because we are fully remote, we will need to do a roll call vote for any votes that we do. So essentially, I know kind of the insurance advisory committee was kind of sprung on everyone. Hadley, I'm not sure if they had it prior to. Usually you create an insurance advisory committee when you're looking to make a change to the insurance benefits within the town. Obviously, with the double increases that we've received through Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, the town is a bit concerned, for the employees and how much the increases have affected them. So part of what the Insurance Advisory Committee purpose is to kind of look into whether making a change makes sense for the town financially, and if so, what benefits they recommend. So we're an advisory board, and each of you are representing a particular facet of the employees. Myself, I'm a non-voting member. Amy Parsons of the Select Board is a non-voting member, and Sue is a non-voting member. However, we're advisory and here to assist with our knowledge in kind of the background and be an asset to the rest of the committee. So essentially, we are going to go over, not today, but at a future meeting, what our options are for health insurance. Whether it makes financial sense to make a change, and kind of where we go from those options. And we will make a recommendation to the select board, based on, our findings. So with that being said, our next item is to elect officers. And so we are going to need to nominate and elect a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary, for this committee. Does anyone have an idea on who we would like to be for a chair?
It would have to be a voting member. So is there anyone that would like to nominate themselves to be? And I think even though Megan isn't sworn in, if she did want to be, we could, I mean, I can't vote, but others could vote to have her as chair. So like this meeting, I don't think anything's being voted on per se. So it gives people an opportunity to be able to be sworn in.
I'll nominate myself for chair from
Is that-
Hadley Educators.
Okay. I do think we need to make a vote for that, correct? So do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, who seconded?
Ray.
Okay. Roll call vote. Kenny,
Yes?
Parsons?
She's not a voting
Oh,
member.
yeah, Healy? Oh, sorry. Piper,
Yes.
Ray Russell,
Yes.
Mike Mizoulis,
Yes.
and Dan Zdonick.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And a vice chair?
I'll nominate myself, Ray Russell.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Kenny,
Yes?
Kim,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and Dan.
Yes.
Okay. And the secretary? No one? Amy, do you know if the secretary has to be a voting member?
Generally, it would have to be a voting member, yeah. Well, wait, weren't you secretary
Yeah.
before as a non-voting member?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't, well, it's not an official, so probably it'd be fine for someone who's not a voting member. Because it's really just note-taking, essentially.
Which is also done by the recording, correct?
Hmm.
So no nominations? All right, I guess I will nominate myself for the note taker. Do I have a second?
I second.
Now, Lauren, these are minutes, right?
Yeah,
So they'll have to be published
yes.
on the website. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just notes.
Who seconded?
I can second.
Roll call vote. Kenny,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Mike. You frozen? Dan,
Yes.
Mike, are you frozen?
Yep.
Okay. All right, when he hops on, we'll get his vote. Perfect. Okay, so, really don't want to move on to the next agenda item, until he hops back on. So with, as we've received the increases, we have been doing some research into a few different options for health insurance coverage. One includes remaining with Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. I do have a meeting next week where I will get a preliminary number for budgeting purposes in terms of what our annual increase as of July 1 will look like. The purpose of the mid-year increase was in hopes that a July 1 increase wouldn't be so significant. So our hopes is that 20% increase that occurred for October 1st would mitigate some of that hike that was anticipated to come for July 1 of 2026. I will have a much better general understanding next week on the 21st in terms of what they're looking at for the new year increases for July 1. Yeah.
Sorry, will you also inquire if they anticipate a mid-year increase other than the July 1st increase?
Yes, absolutely. Just gonna write myself a note.
And Mike's back.
Okay. Mike, you froze up on the roll call vote for the secretary nomination. Can I get your response on that? Roll call vote, Mike Mazulis.
Yes. Sorry, the Wi-Fi kicked me off.
That's okay. Thank you. So yeah, I don't know when you came back on, but I was kind of giving them an overview about the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, kind of where we stand and what the purpose of the October 1st increase was, hopefully to mitigate a huge jump for July 1. In the midst, Joe Shea, I don't know how long he's been with Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. He pretty much runs the show over with Hampshire County, and he is either just retired or is very soon to be retiring. So they have hired on a consultant to essentially do Joe's work. So I'll be interested to see what they have to say in terms of that. I know Hampshire County is doing some research into possibly offering some different options, either a low deductible plan or a high deductible plan, in addition to kind of the main plan that we already have. They voted down, they did not recommend doing it for January 1st. So they said if they were going to add an additional option, it would be for July 1. This would at least, possibly give employees a different option for insurance. I don't know that it would necessarily put them in a better financial position, if that makes sense. So next week, I should have at least a preliminary number in terms of what that increase should look like for budgetary purposes. In February, I will have kind of the number for what that increase should be for July 1. So hopefully it's not the hike that they were initially projecting prior to the mid-year increase. So, that is kind of to be determined. Our secondary option is GIC, which is the Group Insurance Commission. That is through the state health insurance. They have, if we made a decision to switch to another group trust like GIC, the state insurance, it wouldn't be for FY27, it would be for FY28. They have a December 31st deadline to commit, and that obviously has already passed, given the fact that the Insurance Advisory Committee, needs to review the changes and make a recommendation to the select board. There would have been no way to meet that deadline. Unfortunately, the Group Insurance Commission, they have many different options, but very different from what we currently have. All of them have deductibles. Many of them are like through Harvard Pilgrim or Tufts. So they're structured differently, but a much bigger group. So there is some safety in numbers with the state insurance, and they're backed by the state. So if for some reason they were to fall into some type of financial upheaval, the state would, ensure that they would continue. Whereas Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, if they fold, they fold. So there are various options through the GIC. In terms of coverage, it would be very different as your region determines the availability of plans. So they kind of have it set out by region. I would guess that it would, every employee would likely have different in-network options. They may have to change providers, that kind of thing. It would be a pretty big transition. That being said, it's still something to pursue. Their numbers were slightly under where we currently are with Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. They were about their low end plans, their lowest plans, I should say, were around 850. However, again, there's deductibles, and those types of options. So, set up very differently. It is not a big savings, to move there, and very different coverage. So I would anticipate that, the employees would need to make some changes in terms of, maybe their doctors and all of that. And then the last option we've kind of been looking at has been Maya. We do have other products through Maya. And Sue deals with them all the time. They do use Blue Cross Blue Shield. They have hundreds of plans. Unfortunately, because they have hundreds of plans, they can't necessarily give us the options because there's so many, right? So part of the process that we started is getting our claims data from Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, and that needs to be reviewed by Maya to determine what our rates would be. This needs to happen even if we enter GIC. And so I've received the data from Hampshire County. I now have to provide Maya with all of our benefit eligible employees, and some information that they need in order for them to give us rates and even see if they'll accept us. So they could say to us, no, your claims history is not good. We're not taking you on. They could give us high rates, given the just some recent high cost health occurrences throughout the town recently. I don't anticipate that we're going to get good news from Maya when it comes back in terms of rates. However, we do partner with them with other insurances, so sometimes they do give us a good rate. I have been advised by other HR professionals that had made a transition to Maya that they received a great rate the first year, and then the second year they were essentially increased beyond what they could, and they ended up entering back into Hampshire County. So these are all things to consider as we move forward and kind of get these numbers in. Certainly, we want what's best for the employees. We want in terms of coverage and cost. So, I think all of us here could put our heads together and maybe come up with the best, path forward.
I have a
And
quick
so-
question.
Sure.
So, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was kind of under the impression that the reason, besides having a lot of claims, was also because the GLP-1 drugs were covered. Is there any, because I'm assuming that a lot of, not just us, other municipalities were also struggling with the same issue. Is there any possibility or any discussion about, perhaps those not being covered anymore?
So they did make a formulary change, Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust. They did make a formulary change as of 10/1 to not cover the weight loss drugs, the GLP-1 for weight loss only. Those who are type 2 diabetic will still be able to have access and coverage for those. They had made the proposal to not have these covered starting July 1. However, because many of the HR, or I should say many of the members were concerned that it wasn't giving their employees enough time to for notification and to find other options. So what ended up happening is the membership, they voted to do the formulary change in conjunction with the rate hike for 10/1 versus starting the formulary change on 7/1. This did not help the financial matters of Hampshire County, but they have made the change, which should hopefully save them. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was somewhere in the realm of $600,000 a month, just in the GLP-1 weight loss drugs. So hopefully that'll fare well financially. The other update that I do have is I believe there were 8 members that did pull from Hampshire County to go to GIC.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, there were some small communities on that list. But I have to look at the list again to really see, how that might weigh out. And that will be part of, I'm assuming, the discussion in the rates for this upcoming meeting in terms of what those exiting, how that's going to impact the rest of the group, whether that's going to be an increase or a decrease. So it's all dependent on, what their claims data is, and whether they were helpful as a group.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I guess the whole, the premise of my question was, potentially, if these aren't covered anymore and it's just for people that need it for a medical use only, that, this might just be like a short term, situation where in the future, we just limp through for a year or two and then we're kind of, back. But I'm not sure, once
Right.
I'm not sure, like, once they can get this kind of money out of us, that they're ever gonna want to go back down, or if it is solely because it is a regional or community type of pot of money that, in the future the rates would go down.
Back down, yeah.
Yeah.
From my understanding, Hampshire County has been pretty good in terms of their overall increases and or decreases kind of over the years. This particular year was a high hit, and not just to us, but the 73 members that do make up the trust. Everyone's in the same position. I don't know, with the introduction of a consultant, whether kind of their philosophy is going to change at all without Joe Shea kind of running things, whether they'll kind of reduce the rates because it was kind of ridiculous, kind of over time. Or if they're gonna do what other insurance companies do similarly in making sure there's some type of increase each year, to make sure that costs are covered. So that is an unknown, just because of, the change in, personnel, running the show. So, I will have more information coming up. And I think, we can really, I'll have more of a presentation to put together in terms of, GIC's options, get the ball rolling, with Maya, and we can go from there in terms of, figuring out where, if we should move and if it makes sense, or if we should stay where we are. What everyone's opinions are as well. So, does anyone have kind of any questions on the lay of the land, so to speak? Any input?
I did have a quick question for the group. I was wondering what kind of data everyone had collected already. We did a preliminary polling of both Unit A, Unit D members, and we also polled non-union members that work in the buildings, just to also get their opinion, because obviously this affects them as well. And I was just kind of curious what other data people had collected so far.
Right now, we're just collecting data in terms of our health insurance options. Typically, we don't go to the insurance advisory committee unless there is a savings. That's usually kind of a requirement in order to kind of get the ball rolling, in talks with the attorney, just because of the large increase and the impacts on the employees. It was advised that, we start this process regardless, to do the due diligence and make sure that, Hadley is,
I was
collecting the correct plan. We haven't polled the employees, in terms of what their preference may or may not be. From what I've heard, it's obviously, there's been a lot of upset that, the increases to the health insurance has taken up pretty much all increases that were, provided to employees. So that has, been some feedback that we have received and heard. What has your data said?
As it stands with, we have 18 responses from Unit A and Unit D, which is not a large portion of our people, but it's 11 out of 18 want to stay in the trust as their first choice. It seems that the main second choice is Maya, because of the fact that it does have Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it is very close to GIC. And for non-union members, the biggest thought is to stay in the trust, and the second one would be for the GIC, and that's another 7 people. So it's a decent slice of the population. It seems the first, with the data that basically we had already gotten, because I had called you and gotten this information, this is where they're at, but obviously if if numbers change or anything like that, it might change.
Yeah, my our claims data will drive our rates. So the more we use the insurance, the higher the increases will be if they, if we were to go that route. So, if we had a year that, we had many people receiving cancer treatment or something, that would result in higher increases for us. There's not a group to kind of fall under and had, you know, the right hike, so to speak, which is, you know, a little bit concerning. That's where the groups tend to be more beneficial because it's all members are considered one. So say one community has high rates, another one may have low rates, and it kind of evens the scales out, so to speak. Megan, I see your hand up.
I just wanted to also talk about how my husband works for a major national corporation. And so we looked into his open enrollment through his corporation, which had very similar health insurance at Blue Cross Blue Shield and whatnot. For the most similar plan, family plan to ours, it was going to be $128 less, but it changed from an HMO to a PPO, and all of the prescription prices and copays changed. So it would have been a complete wash regardless. So our current rate is completely in line with the national average. Just putting that out there. I know that that's really hard to stomach, but I will say that that is true because I didn't switch and I was ready to jump right on, and it was going to be a worst case scenario for us to switch.
Yeah. And we've kind of heard that feedback a little bit, but obviously, you know, the type of increase that we had, it is hard to stomach regardless. It's unfair. Dan, I see that you have your hand up.
Yeah. Could you get a list of the GIC coverages that are available in our area?
Yeah, absolutely.
And forward a copy of, I don't know if it's some kind of a summary sheet outlining the plan benefits of each?
Yes, I have that,
To us.
that information already together. So I can send that along to the committee.
And I have one other question.
Mhm.
A long time ago, I worked for East Hampton,
Mhm.
and they got rid of Blue Cross Blue Shield HMO, PPO, indemnity plan. They just wiped it out. And I believe at that time, the reason they dumped it was because of the rates were going to go way up due to a few large claim cases.
Mhm.
And at that point, East Hampton had to come up with the shortfall because they were leaving.
Mhm. Yes.
And I'm wondering if that's something that Hadley would incur. If
Yes.
there's a massive shortfall, how much that would be, and if it's actually cheaper to stay in than to switch.
Likely it is. So when we hopped on board with Hampshire County, they essentially charge, and I don't know exactly what the number is that they had charged us at the time, but essentially you pay to get in. And that is held in reserves. And if you leave, that money that they hold is to go towards the claim runoff for exiting. However, a lot of their reserves were used up from the hikes, and I'm talking, you know, they had $3 million in 1 month. That was over what was anticipated, you know, just due to high dollar claims that were occurring throughout the trust. And they said cancer was one of the number one drivers of that. But yes, if we do leave, we are responsible for the claims run off. Whatever is left from what we paid in when we got into the trust would be used towards that. Anything remaining, so if we had still claims remaining for the runoff period, I believe it's 18 months. It's either 12 months or 18 months. The town would incur that cost.
Can I just say something quick too? Just to piggyback a little bit off of what Megan had said. I will say, because I did just go through open enrollment with my company, that we moved away from Harvard Pilgrim, and I know that that was something that was mentioned previously. So we moved away from them, and we're currently on Aetnia. So, and I don't know what I should ask my HR person, but I think there was an issue with the rates getting really high with Harvard Pilgrim. So, we did move away.
Right. And that's the, those are some of the providers that would be within our area, for GIC. It would be Harvard Pilgrim. There is no Blue Cross Blue Shield on that list. I believe it's Tufts, and a couple others, but I will send the list out to the committee members. Kim, are you talking? I think you're muted.
We're muted.
Sorry. Is there more of a limited access to primary care physicians through those plans? Because there seems to be a severe shortage of primary care physicians that are accepting new patients.
I would assume that the providers who accept, Harvard Pilgrim and Tufts are going to be different. The networks are going to be different. And so any transition that we make, to those types of plans, obviously employees will feel the hit likely. They may have to make changes to the providers. I don't know if there's a shortage, but I can try to find that out.
I think the GIC also has Health New England, which would probably be most in kind to what we currently have, but they're still pricey.
Yeah. GIC is a much larger group, so the benefit of the GIC is, the safety in numbers. But again, we have to weigh whether that's more of a benefit to us to have changes in coverage, or for a minimal amount, to be modest, or in whether that's worth the change for the employees here. So, but I will, if you think of anything after the meeting ends, please email me. I can certainly try to do my best to get the information together and send it out. I did speak with the attorney in terms of whether, as we discuss the coverages, the amounts, etc., whether that should be done in open session or executive session. The attorney had advised that we do it in executive session. So that's why we're not getting into kind of the details, the nuts and bolts, plus waiting on some information before we kind of get into all the nuts and bolts of the insurances. So, but any questions you have, feel free to reach out. I can get you, the information that you need, especially as it becomes available. in terms of, are we good with kind of the overall lay of the land? And the preliminary discussion on the health insurance options that we're currently looking at? Okay. So in terms of a meeting schedule, what are we thinking, we'd like to do here? Typically, insurance advisory committees meet during, office hours. So, that's typical for most insurance advisory committees. I don't know if we want to do maybe monthly. That way I have some time to get some information from both Maya and Hampshire County. Or if we want to do something maybe in 2 weeks. Kenny, I see your hand raised.
Can we change it once we make the decision? Like if basically we vote on it, like it's not a problem to change this in any way, right? If all of a sudden we need to like ramp this up to try to like make a deadline, so we could say like a month to start off, but if like we need to move it up, we could, correct?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, cool.
So,
So Lauren, do we want to perhaps look at, say, the 17th or the 18th during the day for our next meeting of February?
that would work for me.
That is school break, I believe.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, Kenny.
yeah,
No problem.
We
Yeah,
don't
sorry,
get
everyone.
those.
Teachers do have a lot of time. I know that, but yeah.
How about the 10th of February?
that works good for me. Ray, see your hand up?
Just leave yourself enough time to dig with those people. That's all. I mean, we can try
Mhm.
that. The 10th is okay, but I know it's not gonna be easy on your half looking up, you know what I mean? Trying to get information from everybody, but we can set it for then and see what happens.
Yeah, I will at least have an update on kind of the rates. And, we can certainly go, from there, by then. So next week is when I'll be participating for us with Hampshire County, so. Do we want to keep the same time, 11:30 to 1, or is that an inconvenient time for everyone?
It works for me.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
So-
fine for me.
all right, so
I'm
we'll,
fine with it.
perfect. So we will do the 11:30 to 1 on February the 10th. And do we want to set another meeting date now or set that at the next meeting?
Why don't we see what we've got to work with and then go from there?
All right, sounds good. All right, so it looks like we've gone through our agenda. So next meeting, Kenny will chair and Ray Russell will be our vice chair. Kenny, you and I will be in discussion about the agendas and all of that, and I'll have the meeting minutes ready for review at our next meeting. And we will go from there. Any questions as we're ready to call the meeting? All right, so do I have,
Someone needs to make a motion to adjourn.
yep,
Ray has his hand up.
No,
I think that was from
Oh.
before.
Sorry.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
roll call vote. Kenny,
yes.
Piper, Kim,
Sue? Oh, yes.
Ray,
yes.
Dan,
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.